But for the Scots, that Braveheart philosophy has carried them so far this season already. Will it propel them to another victory? Ralph Kleinman kicks it off, and it's fielded at the 12 by Lee Gissendane, who hands it off to Marcus Thomas, and Thomas with running room. Still on his feet, past the 50. Great start on special teams for the Claymores, and they went into the box of tricks early.
And we saw it last week, Nick. You think that Frankfurt would have been aware of this. They ran the reverse 3 times, or faked the reverse 3 times, and they come out and they finally handed it off to Marcus Thomas, again out to the 50-yard line.
So Steve Matthews, as the quarterback allocated by the Kansas City Chiefs, just been getting better and better as this season's gone on.
Yeah, he's really becoming a solid quarterback. It was detrimental for him to come into the World League because it's really been the key to his success.
And he's working in excellent field position there at Frankfurt's 46-yard line already. And we talked to the Galaxy, their confidence so fragile after 2 beatings, really need to get off to a good start. Got the worst possible start there. Saran Stacey is met and will not get much. May lose a yard. Looked like Chris Hall came up, Tom Cavallo was there. Saran Stacey, one of the 2 real potent offensive threats for the Claymores.
Well, you can see right there, they're responsible for 67% of the team's total yards, Stacey and LaChapelle. So if you're going to stop the Claymores, you have to stop these 2. And the first play, Frankfurt came out stopping Saran Stacey.
And they're going to have to do that all game long. Stacey ripped onto shreds in the 4th quarter of the first game. LaChapelle goes in motion on 2nd down and long. Matthews drops back to pass, has a lot of time, goes over the middle, gets Scott Cooper, the Scottish national player, who will pick up a first down at around 15 yards. Curtis Cotton came in and made the stop. Scott Cooper, the national wide receiver, but really coming into his own, along with Yo Murphy and Sean LaChapelle, the regular guys. Will he take the tight end? Stacey and Kaya Yahilo in the backfield.
LaChapelle is the guy that we'll be keeping an eye on, and I'm sure Frankfurt is very well aware of what he can do.
All the way to the 28-yard line. 1st and 10 on the ground again. Saran Stacey looks, doesn't get a lot, pushes his way for maybe 2 or 3, working behind a very solid offensive line. And the key really to the Claymores' offensive line is these 5 guys have been together right from the start.
Yeah, and fortunately they haven't been injured at all. 4 of the 5 are allocated players from the NFL, and they've really gelled together. And they've been the big guys. They've been the one carrying the load for this Claymores offense.
A pickup of 2 for Stacey. Brings up a 2nd down and 8 for the Scottish Claymores, who've started well in just about every game they've played. Stacey goes in motion out of the backfield. And again, time for Matthews. He looked for Kaya Hilo, who just took his eye off the ball. Mark Byers was there, but that was a drop from Kaya Hilo. The Frankfurt defensive front really has been pushed around a lot in the last couple of weeks. John Baker still leads the World League with sacks with 6, but this group really has had trouble.
Well, yeah, they've had trouble in the past 2 weeks because they haven't jumped out early on top, and they've had to play the run. And so they've been concentrating on trying to stop the run, and you can see thus far early in the 1st quarter, they're trying to key on Saran Stacey and the running game of the Claymores.
3rd down and long, and the nickel package comes in for Frankfurt, looking to hold the Claymores here on their opening series. Matthews drops, again has a lot of time, and now will run. No, he stays, and again it's just not complete. They were looking for Kaya Hilo, who had coverage. Ed Robinson. So a disappointing series, and they send out Paul McCallum. Let's take another look at that.
Yeah, Steve Matthews has been told, he's been coached, that, hey, if even just because a pass is called, if they're covered, go ahead and run the ball. And he's looking for some running room, but the defensive line of Frankfurt had him cornered in the pocket. There was no place for him to go. Great job defensively on the opening drive by the Frankfurt Galaxy.
So McCallum will attempt a 49-yard field goal, which is considerably longer than his longest of the year so far. Certainly up. Has it got the legs? It's dropping and it's wide. So a disappointing start on their opening series for the Scottish Claymores. The Galaxy really rocked on their heels with that kickoff return.
This 4th and 1 stand by the Claymores meant the Galaxy couldn't get the scoreboard moving, and they now have a 1st and 10 on their own 30-yard line.
So Scotland get the ball back on their own 30. On the ground they go again. Saran Stacey runs through the first tackle and will pick up around 7 yards. That'll bring up a 2nd and about 3 from the 37. Don Reynolds eventually on the stop.
Yeah, watch number 71, Tom Barnes. See him pull and lead the way through the hole, and then he finds a linebacker out in front, and Saran Stacey stays close behind him. because he knows these big guards are going to open up for him. Purvis Hunt 79 and Tom Barnes 71. They do a lot of clearing the way.
2nd down and 3. On the ground again, Stacey explodes through the hole and will pick up a 1st down. Is eventually stopped in the secondary, and Frank Messmer, the German national, finishes him off, but another pickup of around 7 yards. And Saran Stacey just exploded through the hole. Mark Byers was involved in the stop as well. Tom Cavallo, the middle linebacker, Bernard Carter, the outside guy. A good group of guys, but guys that have been pushed around a bit.
They have been pushed around. They've had difficulty stopping the run. They need to get into their gaps and control their gaps.
1st down at the 45. The ground again, and Stacey is wrapped up this time. Looked like Mark Byers came up from around the outside, number 58, and was the 1st man there. The defensive backfield for Frankfurt playing hurt, especially on the corners, where Cecil Doggett and Chris Hall have been banged up with injuries for the last 3 weeks. Johnny Dixon, the free safety, and Curtis Cotton comes in at strong safety, replacing Lance Gunn.
It's the first time Curtis Cotton has actually got the chance to start, and it's a move where, you know, he's a guy that's allocated by the Raiders. He's a great athlete with great speed and great physical ability, leaping ability. So they're going to give him a shot in there, see if they can help this defense out.
Loss of a yard for Stacey. Motion on the play from Willie Tate. Matthews looks, fires, picked off. And that's the 1st interception he's thrown in quite a while. Curtis Cotton, who we were just talking about, coming up with the 1st turnover of the game. The man from the Raiders has really stepped up.
Well, defensive back, the one thing you want is speed to recover. And that's what Curtis Cotton has. You'll see him come step right in front of the ball that was meant for Sean LaChapelle. He runs about a 4.40, and he's one of those Raiders fast guys. You know, the LA Raiders love those speedsters. And that's what he's out there for.
Well, that was an inspired positional switch by Ernie Stortner, the head coach, who said he just wants to give Curtis Cotton a chance to see what he can do. And that's a pretty good way to repay the coach's faith.
You know, he meant the opportunity. He was prepared for it.
And it gives Frankfurt excellent field position at Scotland's 45. And the Claymores not having this their own way at all. The Claymores defense back out again rather sooner than they'd have wanted to be. Pallur goes upstairs, looks for Jay Kearney. Corey Duckett's there and picks it off. What a play from Duckett, who looked like he was beaten and made a heck of a recovery. This Claymores defense gives you nothing.
Steve Pallur, one of the raps on him is he tries to force the ball downfield too much. He tries to get big chunks of yardage instead of taking the 5 to 10 yard passes and marching things downfield. Although Jay Kearney was wide open, Steve did not throw the ball out in front of him far enough. It gave Corey Duckett opportunity to try to run back there and get in on the play, and you saw the result.
Corey Duckett, who, like Curtis Cotton, is allocated from the NFL. He's with the Saints, and Steve Pallur, well, his nightmare continues. But Scotland now on their own 10. Matthews looks, fires, and got Cooper again. And you can chalk up 21 yards. And this young man from Glasgow really is emerging as a genuine threat in this offense.
Well, you know, we talked to Jim Kreiner, and Jim Kreiner told us, he said, you know, we have some other players on this team that we're starting to get into the picture. And one of them is Scott Cooper. And you can see right there that, you know, when you prepare for Scotland, you think right away of 88 Sean LaChapelle. And Scotty Cooper is really coming along and making strides and becoming a good receiver.
And it's a 1st down at the 31 for the Claymores. Back on the ground they go this time. Kayahilo doesn't fool anybody. Good suit there from Ed Robinson, the outside linebacker, to stop him.
And, you know, Frankfurt's playing some defense of their own. You know, they're coming up and they're supporting the run. They're swarming, and that's what you have to do to stop the Claymores. You know, Jim Kreiner says they like to play smash-mouth offense. Well, the way you beat a smash-mouth offense is smack them back in the mouth. And that's what Frankfurt's doing.
Well, it's been a very patchy offense so far. A couple of catches from Cooper, a couple of runs from Stacey. But no real rhythm to this Claymores offense as yet. Now Matthews on 2nd and long, and that's tipped up in the air, and a pick-off, and it's gone. Chris Hall takes it in. Touchdown, Frankfurt. And that silenced the crowd here at Murrayfield.
Watch number 66, Mike Kerr, to the right of your screen. He gets a push on Randy Bierman. Then, no, that was Don Reynolds, number 90, that got his hand on the ball as it was coming out. You press the pocket down as a defensive lineman, then get your hands up. And that's what they did in front of Steve Matthews. That tipped it, and Chris Hall was right there to pick it up and take it in. And that is a big play. That can turn the course of the game.
Chris Hall, who was smoked a couple of times by Sean LaChapelle in the first meeting 2 weeks ago, getting a measure of revenge there. Ralph Kleinman, the German national, will attempt the extra point, no problem at all. And Frankfurt, who talked to us about the need for a fast start, have got the fast start they wanted. 4:51 to go, first quarter. It's the Galaxy on top, 7-0. Nick Halling and Bill Marsh at Murrayfield. Was that a smile on Ernie Staunton's face there?
I'm not sure. There was a little crease there. I'm not sure what it was. It might be a little smirk going.
Ralph Kleinman gets it underway. The Galaxy ahead 7-0. Marcus Thomas, who returned the last one past midfield, fields at his 12. They fake the reverse this time, and Thomas doesn't fool anybody. Certainly not Robert Flickinger or Lance Gunn. But let's take another look at the touchdown.
Watch number 90 come into the left of your screen. Defensive linemen are closing the pocket. Then he gets his hand up, tips the ball. Great awareness by Chris Hall. He knows the play. The ball was tipped. He finds it up in the air, closes on it, takes it right on in for a touchdown. And that's a big jump for them. That's a big spark for the whole entire Frankfurt team. They needed something like this. They've been in some kind of funk the last 2 weeks.
And when the Claymores fail to score first, they lose. Okay, it's only one game. Well, that could be significant. They're used to being ahead and controlling the flow of the football. And Stacey doesn't get an awful lot. A bit of pushing and shoving, 2 or 3.
You know, Jim Kreiner told us this week in meetings, he said he's not happy with the way the team practiced this week, but he thinks his team is up for the game. And he said, watch his team, and if they don't score in the first 3 possessions, then they are not ready to play. This is their 3rd possession.
And you know something, I spoke to Jim Kreiner a couple of weeks ago, and he said, when this team practices well, we play well. I don't know what it is, but whenever we have a good week of practice, I know we're going to play well. And as he said, it's been a bad week of practice, and certainly a bad start. And as you rightly say, Bill, 3rd possession. This could be important for Scotland. Pressure comes. Matthews tipped again, and Stefan Gamlin, the German national player, had a piece of that. And the Claymores offense really rolling the dice.
Well, you know who's rolling the dice actually is Frankfurt. And Frankfurt is a team that usually only blitzed in their scoring zone. They waited till the offense got down inside at 20, then they blitzed. Now they're sending people. They're doing exactly what Scotland did to them the first time they played them down in Frankfurt. And you saw there Ronnie Woolfolk around the corner put a big hit on Steve Matthews, just like they were doing to Steve Pallur down in Frankfurt. Rough up your quarterback.
If you knock the quarterback flat on his back, the offense isn't going to do much to you. On the ground, the draw play for Ron Dickerson, who doesn't get anywhere near first down yardage before he's stopped by Mike Kerr, and that's 3 possessions for the Claymores, and really not a lot to show for it.
You know, did you see the big hit there? Okay, that's what you have to do. You have to be physical with this offense. Watch the big hit on the draw play. It's Dickerson on the draw. He gets through the line, and here comes Mike Kerr. You see those big arms wrapped around Landon? You've got to be physical with the Claymores because that's their game.
So Paul McCallum, who missed a 49-yard field goal on the opening series, will punt it away. Gary Harrell, the deep man, fields at his own 44 and runs into trouble and is down. So a good stop there from the Englishman, Robert Flickinger, the former London Monarch, now playing for Scotland.
You know, for Frankfurt, the last 2 weeks has really been tough for them. You know, Scotland down there, they really put a hammering on them. And then last week in London, you know, they couldn't get things going offensively at all. And now they come out here today and they jump up 7-0. The defense takes a little pressure off their offense. So now they can sit down and relax and get this thing going.
First down in pretty decent field position as well, close to their own 40-yard line. They can't complain about field position so far. The Galaxy on the ground they go. And not much doing. John DeWitt makes the stop. DeWitt, who's lost about 20 pounds with food poisoning. There didn't seem to be much wrong with him there. Well, the Galaxy really do need a lift. This game's so important, and they've got to try and get rid of the problems that they've had in the last couple of weeks.
Well, there you can see it in the last 2 weeks. You see the points, 3.5 points in the last 2 weeks of average. And the turnovers, look at that, 4 of them. You can't turn the ball over 4 times in a game and expect to win.
That from being the hottest offense in the league as well. Kalur with a lot of time on second and long, and it's intercepted. No, it's dropped. Arnold Allais thought he had his second interception of the season, but couldn't hang on.
Yeah, well, like I said at the top, as the Frankfurt Galaxy offense goes, it goes on Steve Kalur's back. And he forces the ball, and you can see it here again. That man is covered. He should not have thrown the ball there. Arnold Ali should have picked it off. He stepped right in front of Maurice Johnson. He should have picked the ball off. But, hey, that's the whole scenario right there.
And that brings up a third and long for Frankfurt's offense. And Kalur looking a little bit shaky. Pressure comes, Kalur gets hit, looks for Ingo Seibert, who is just flat at the line of scrimmage by Corey Duckett, and bring on the punting unit for Frankfurt.
Yeah, Kalur is holding the ball too long. I mean, don't be surprised if you see him get pulled and Brad Bretts come in. He's holding the ball here, and then as he releases it, he gets hit and leaves the ball hanging out there for Ingo Seibert. Ingo Seibert, it's up in the air. He makes the catch and then gets leveled by Corey Duckett. I mean, you're just leaving your receiver out there to hang when you put the ball that high in the air, but he had no choice. But he held the ball too long.
Poor old Ingo has just come back from injury. Kevin Feary gets it away. Good high kick that has Lee Gissendaner backpedaling to about his own 12. Tony Harrison can't get Gissendaner, but the second wave does bring him down. So Scotland, who will host the World Bowl, not having things all their own way here. So the Scottish Claymores take over at about their own 20, or about their own 18-yard line. So Scotland, whose offense really hasn't done much, now they're getting going. They find Sean LaChapelle down the sidelines. Curtis Cotton on the stop, but they've got to get LaChapelle involved.
Well, if you want your offense to move and you're the Scottish Claymores, there's the guy to go to. He can do so much, and we talked to Jim Soker, the offensive coordinator, about him. He can separate, he can jump, he can block. This guy can do it all. He's a heck of a receiver.
And they pick up a first down to their own 37-yard line. On the ground, trying to mix it up. Ronnie Woolfolk makes the stop after just a couple. And it looks like there may be a loose ball in there. And there's another turnover. Coughed up. And this Frankfurt defense really toughening up. Looks like Ronnie Woolfolk has come up with it. Another big play for Frankfurt's defense.
Watch Coelho here on the draw play. He comes up into the line of scrimmage, and there's a host of tacklers around. And there, Ronnie Woolfolk strips the ball as he's going down. You see Coelho on the ground there. He doesn't have the ball. Ronnie Woolfolk not only made the tackle, but he stripped the ball from him and recovered a fumble. Ronnie Woolfolk's off to a heck of a start here.
3 turnovers in the first quarter for Scotland. This is a terrible start for them. Back on the ground, Ingo Seibert will go close to first down yardage. George Coghill came up from safety and stopped him. But for all the problems that Frankfurt's offense has had, they've had tremendous field position to work with thanks to their defense.
Well, their offensive line does a heck of a job right here. See the trap play? Watch Mike Batiste, number 68, clear the way. Ingo Seibert right up the gut. And that's what you have to do to the Scottish Claymores. Pound the ball at them. And this looks like a whole new offense.
Second down and short for Frankfurt with a 7-point lead. Looking to capitalize on these turnovers. Seibert is tripped up, but not until he's got a first down. Looked like number 97 getting in there. John DeWitt once again, the defensive end. And that'll do it as far as the first quarter is concerned. A happy one for Frankfurt, leading the Scottish Claymores 7-0. Welcome back to Murrayfield in Edinburgh, Scotland. The Frankfurt Galaxy leading the Scottish Claymores 7-0, and with possession and a first down at their opponent's 27-yard line. Nick Halling and Bill Maas enjoying the action, and Frankfurt came into this game saying, we want revenge. We really want to pay them back 2 weeks ago.
And you can almost smell it.
Yeah.
I mean, they're hungry, and you can see it in their play.
First down. It's another important defensive series for Scotland. They show blitz. George Coghill steps up. But Pelur is protected. He gets Mario Bailey, but Bailey can't hang on because he had James Williams all over him.
Well, when you blitz and you bring your safeties, as they did with bringing number 34, George Coghill, up the middle, it forces man-to-man coverage on your corner. And James Williams plays the slant here perfectly. He backpedals, gives off a little bit, sees the slant, and takes off after it. And he's there right as the ball gets there and knocks it out.
So that brings up a second down for the Frankfurt Galaxy. Pelur goes on the ground to Ingo Seibert, who works his blockers for 6 or 7 yards. James Fuller, the safety man who was cut by Frankfurt in pre-season, eventually on the stop.
And Ingo Seibert's back into the running game here for the Frankfurt Galaxy. Well, he's going off the field right now, but he's in their game plan. And he's been out for the last 2 weeks because of injuries. He suffered a bruise. And he was leading all nationals in scoring, the World League in scoring touchdowns for a while. He had 4 of them. There he is. 4 TDs. And now he's back in the mix of things. They've been banged up at the offensive running back position.
But he checks out. Nate Bolton checks into the lineup. On third down, Pelur with a lot of time goes upstairs, looks for Bolton, but Bolton was out of bounds. That'll bring up a fourth down. James Fuller on the coverage. But Crazy Legs couldn't quite hang on to that pass from Steve Pelur before going out of bounds.
Well, you know, for Frankfurt, at least they moved the ball down the field. That's something they couldn't do in the last 2 weeks. And so they've had to feel a sense of success about it. Now they're down there on the 23-yard line, and they're in field goal situation. See if they can get 3 points here and boost their lead to 10.
A 40-yard effort for Ralph Kleinman, whose long is 42, and that one's not going to go anywhere near. That went about 7 or 8 yards short, or wide rather, so kickers having a problem today. Tony Stormer, the Galaxy coach, looking on. Nick Halling and Bill Mast calling the action. Scotland, whose offense really has struggled so far, have a first down at their own 30-yard line. Early second period, they fake the handoff, and then Matthews goes upstairs, gets Sean LaChapelle, and this is a big play. He has one blocker, can't get past the last guy, but takes it down inside the 30. Cecil Doggett just ran LaChapelle down. But a huge play for the Claymores offense. That's the one they've been looking for.
That is the one they've been looking for. And when you take away their running game, it's not the only thing they have. Watch Sean LaChapelle coming across the screen right there. He gets the ball to him. He beats Johnny Dixon on the play action. Then it's up the sideline. He goes. Scott Cooper, Yo Murphy comes in and throws a big block there. These guys are a team. They're helping each other out all the time.
42 yards for a guy who just slaughtered Frankfurt 2 weeks ago. And that's a first down and a timeout called by the Scottish Claymores. There's a flag, so they're out of time.
See, when you take that big chunk of yardage and move down the field, you've got to get your offense into the huddle real quick, because as soon as the ball stops...
5-yard penalty. First down.
As soon as the ball is down, the clock starts running, the play clock, 35 seconds here in the World League.
Saran Stacey is taking a breather on the sidelines. Ron Dickerson has checked in to replace him. Kaya Hilo is alone in the backfield at the moment on 1st and 15. LaChapelle wide right. Murphy wide left goes in motion. Matthews drops, pressure comes, but they're looking for Dickerson, and it's a catch down to the 4-yard line. Mark Byers was on the coverage, but Dickerson came up with another huge catch for the Claymores.
Well, that time they lined up in a one-back set, and the one-back was Caiello. Dickerson, number 23, to the left of your screen, he lined up as a second tight end on the line of scrimmage. And he beats Byers. Byers is a quick guy with good speed. He was right there on top of the coverage. But what it came down to was the ability to jump and get the ball at the very end of the play, and Ron Dickerson had a nice catch there.
And that brings up a 1st and goal at the 3. Stacey back into the lineup, gets nothing there at all. He was met by the linebacker Tom Cavallo, who came up and stopped him. Curtis Cotton with some help as well. And that'll bring up a 2nd down and goal from the 5.
You know, it appears that Frankfurt has really set their sights on stopping the running game of the Claymores. And thus far in the game, it's transpiring. Every time they've tried to generate a running game, which they've been able to do successfully against every other team, Frankfurt has stopped them.
Murphy is split wide left. Kayahilo and Stacey in the backfield. LaChapelle goes in motion. Flag comes in. Matthews rolls, is in trouble, and gets rid of it, and it's tipped up in the air and almost intercepted by Tom Cavallo. But there is a flag. But this Claymores offense not getting too much change out of this Galaxy defense so far. They really have stiffened up when they had to.
Steve Matthews took a chance right there. He knew he should have thrown the ball away. But the last second, he thought he could force it into the end zone, and hopefully something good would come out of it. What almost happened was an interception in the end zone.
Illegal formation. Only 6 men on the line of scrimmage for the offense. 5-yard penalty. Repeat, second down.
It is a sign of an offense that's just not quite in sync at the moment. And from the 3-yard line, they've been pushed back to the 11. Jim Kreiner.
That's really been uncharacteristic of this offense. They've only had about 29 penalties throughout the whole season.
So a second down, but from the 11. Matthews drops, looks, and overthrows. Sean LaChapelle was there, but it looked like Matthews just threw that one away.
Well, Chris Hall, number 32, drew man-to-man coverage there on Sean LaChapelle. And one of the things you're going to have to do when you draw Sean LaChapelle is stay with him, get into him, because he's a physical guy. You see him right there, the contact made. LaChapelle trying to push off at the end, but Chris Hall doesn't budge. He stays right on him. Super coverage.
The nickel package comes in on 3rd and goal for Frankfurt. Ron Dickerson, who had that catch earlier, checks into the backfield for the Claymores. Matthews goes over the middle to Willie Tate, and is it a touchdown? They're saying it's incomplete. Tate couldn't quite hang on. He was hit at the goal line.
Steve Matthews is taking some chances, and that's the second time I saw it. Willie Tate was covered, and he really tried to throw the ball hard in there. 23, Ron Dickerson was wide open in the flat and had a clear shot to, if not get a touchdown, at least pick up the first down. You saw he tried to force the ball in there, and Fred Fogey was there to break it up. And now they have to try to settle for 3.
Paul McCallum missed a 49-yarder earlier. This is a 28-yarder, and no problem this time for the Scottish kicker. So that reduces the deficit to 7-3, but after a couple of big plays, they'll be disappointed with that.
Some great Claymores defense meant the Galaxy couldn't add to their score, and they have a 1st and 10 inside the Galaxy half.
Scotland trailing by 4, but with 6 minutes to go in this first half, they've got the ball in excellent field position, Bill.
Yeah, special teams is a big factor, and when you can get the ball and only have to go 45 yards, it makes it a lot easier for your offense.
First down for Steve Matthews, who's had a streaky first half, and he's racked up and will pick up maybe a couple just because he fell forward. Don Reynolds in the thick of the action, along with Ronnie Woolfolk. But this offense just not quite on track at the moment.
Hey, and you nailed it right there, Nick. They're not on track. And right there on that play, Steve Matthews turned the wrong way. Couldn't find the guy he was supposed to hand the ball off to, and had to scamper off the left side and try to pick up a yard.
Now I come back to what Jim Kreiner said to us. We didn't practice well this week. And when this team doesn't practice well, they don't play well. And they're being made to work very hard here, offensively, by Frankfurt. Matthews goes, finds his man, Scott Cooper again. That's Cooper's 3rd catch of the game. Cecil dogged on the stop, but Cooper really... We talk about some of these national players as passengers, but not this guy.
Scott Cooper's really made strides, and their all offensive staff knows he has. He's in there now because he's a legitimate receiver. He's not in there because he's a national guy they need on a national series. This guy can play football, and he's learning more and more and more every week. And Jim Soker, our offense coordinator, says, hey, we like to have him in there. He is a receiver. We're going to try to get him the ball.
3 catches for Cooper. They've all been for first downs. Matthews gets hit. Pressure straight up the middle. And down went Matthews. Mark Byers just threw a bead on him and leveled him.
One thing Mark Byers can do is blitz. Watch him step into the middle of this picture, the screen here. See that come right up the gut. He lined up at left outside linebacker, then came slanting in right up the middle where the center should be. The center wasn't there to pick him up. The back wasn't there to pick him up. And the result, Steve Matthews on his back about 10 yards deep.
And a 9-yard loss. And when Frankfurt are getting their sacking going, they tend to do well. Second down and a stack. Matthews with a lot of time goes over the middle, gets Sean LaChapelle. It'll be short of first down yardage. Curtis Cox tripped him up, but it'll be 3 yards short. That'll bring up third down for the Scottish Claymores.
What exactly is a stack? I'm not sure what a stack is, Nick, but right here,
A lot, Bill.
Sean LaChapelle just took a bunch off of that stack. now they're about 3rd and 3 in a good situation for offense to be in.
3 yards is not a stack.
But you see what they do? When they get in trouble, you see who they go to all the time. LaChapelle.
Third down and a long 3 to go for the Claymores. Looking to keep things alive. They've got LaChapelle once again, who breaks the tackle to pick up the first down. Cecil Doggett was there, but LaChapelle fell forward.
Yeah, Sean LaChapelle, he's the guy. He's the guy you go to. If you need a chunky yardage, bang, you go to him. If you need a first down, you go to him. And if you throw it short, he'll do the extra and lay the ball out there just far enough to get the first down for you.
Scotland with a first down on the 21 of the Galaxy. Just about 3 minutes to go, first half. The pitch back is to Saran Stacey, and they're doing quite a job on Stacey in this first half, the Galaxy defense. Look like Bernard Carter, the first man there, but they're just stringing him out.
Well, that's one of their favorite plays. They like to run off tackle there and off of Big Keith Wagner, number 78. But what they're not doing is they haven't been able to do that. And the reason, I think, is because they've got Messner out there. Frank Messner, 99, 300-pound guy. He's stuffing up that corner for him.
This a much tighter performance defensively from the Galaxy. A loss of a couple. LaChapelle goes in motion. Chris Hall tries to cover him. And on the draw play up the middle, nothing much doing again. Looks like they may have lost another couple of yards. That was Ron Dickerson, Tom Cavallo on the stop. Baker still getting treatment on the sidelines.
And they could use this guy right now. You know, your 3rd and 12, obvious pass situation. This is when this guy's good, and this is when their defensive line is good.
A big 3rd down and 12 for the Scottish Claymores, whose offense just not in sync. Matthews play fakes, then goes, gets a man. He's got Willie Tate, who is at least 4 yards short of a first down. Fred Foggy just wrapped him up, so that'll send out Paul McCallum and the field goal unit for the 3rd time in the ball game.
Yeah, well, they try the play action right here, but the play action isn't going to work if your running game's not working. And then he tries to find someone open, and look at the coverage. There's coverage all downfield. The only thing he had there was Tate underneath. He had a couple yards on Fred Foggy. That's all he could get was a 4 yard.
This will be a 32-yard effort. Willie Tate will hold for McCallum, who missed earlier, and I think he's missed again. And that really could come back to hurt the Scottish Claymores. McCallum missed a 49-yarder and now a 32-yarder. Yeah, you just can't afford to do that in a close game like this.
You're right, Nick, 100% right. You know, you get down there in scoring zone and you don't get a touchdown. And you try to get 3 points out of it, and you'll settle for that, and you come away with nothing. It's a wasted effort.
Well, Scotland really battling here. It's a battle all the way for them as well, because next week they go to Amsterdam, who are red hot at the moment. Frankfurt entertain the Rhine Fire in a German derby game, or derby game, as Bill Mast would no doubt call it, a real passion. And London heads south to take on the Barcelona Dragons. And now, with 1:50 left in the first half, Frankfurt have an opportunity to increase their lead. And a spread formation, 4 wide receivers out for Steve Pelluer, who gets it off. And Jay Kearney has broken past the first tackler, and a great second effort. Emmett Waldron eventually brings him down, but a pickup of 12 yards for Kearney.
Well, Steve Pelluer takes another shot. Again, you know, it's 1:53 left. You have 4 wide receivers. Again, Scotland knows that he's going to throw the ball. And Steve knows he's going to get hit. There, that time, down around the leg.
Pelluer drops to pass. He's got an open man who is Nate Bolton, who eventually wrapped up James Williams, the first man there.
And they're in their 2-minute offense, Nick, and you see them hustling up to the line of scrimmage and getting on the ball and trying to get downfield and scoring situation, put some points on the board before the half.
2nd down and 4. Pressure comes from Pallur, who steps up and will make a 1st down. Slides about 3 yards before he had to and calls a timeout. Steve Pallur has had enough of being hit in this game already.
You can see that. He wasn't going to lower his shoulder and run anybody else over. He's been run over enough. He looks downfield, can't find anybody, and takes off running. And plays it safe.
Bellamy, the motion man. Pallur drops, looks for the sidelines, and risked another interception there. James Williams came up, but Mike Bellamy came up with it.
And the clock's still running. He didn't get out of bounds. His feet came down in bounds, and he didn't get out. And the clock is running. He has to down the ball here.
Down to 10 seconds. And Pallur does down the ball, and that's going to be a long kick for Ralph Kleinman. Flags come in the Claymores backfield.
Too many men on the field for the Claymores. They tried to substitute, but didn't get Ty Parton off the field in time. I believe it was Ty Parton. He was the one sprinting to the sidelines.
Defense had 12 men on the field at the snap. It's a 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. Repeat, 1st down.
And that helps Ralph Kleinman out a lot.
Yeah, anytime a kicker can get a few extra yards, he's happy about it. He missed one from about this distance.
Yeah, this is a 40-yard kick. A 45-yarder certainly would have been a long for the season for him. But as you say, Bill, he's missed from exactly that position, and it was a bad miss as well. And with that wind, this is not an easy kick for the German national. And the crowd are not helping him one bit. Kleinman's kick is up, and it's wide the other way this time. So field goal kicker's having a miserable afternoon.
He had the distance that time. He didn't have the distance before, but he sure had the distance that time, and he was wide left.
With 1 second remaining in the 1st half.
What do you do here, Nick, with 1 second left?
What would I do in this situation? I'd be very boring. I'd just drop to one knee and get in, and I think Jim Kreiner will want to get his offense in there because it's not been the Scottish Claymores offense that we're used to seeing. We talked about the need to get La Chapelle going. We talked about the need to spring Stacey. Really, those guys have not been much of a factor, and Steve Matthews has gambled.
And we've talked about the fact that they didn't practice well this week, and it's showing in their play for Scotland. And on the other end of it, for Frankfurt, they're coming out and they're starting to get their offense going. You're starting to get a little confidence, and that's what they need to do. They've got to climb out of the hole that they're in, and they're starting to climb out here in the 1st half.
Steve Matthews does the intelligent thing and takes the knee, which is exactly what I would have done, Bill, I might add.
Turnovers and missed field goals are the story here, and the reason why the Scottish Claymores trail the Frankfurt Galaxy by a score of 7-3. Join us for 2nd half after the break.
Edinburgh, Scotland, World League, Week 7. The Scottish Claymores and the Frankfurt Galaxy playing it ugly so far. Frankfurt leading 7-3. This is Nick Halling along with Bill Mast, the former Kansas City Chiefs nose tackle. And one of the guys that Bill has been watching in this 1st half is Tom Barnes, who's an allocated player from the Kansas City Chiefs. And you say this guy's got quite a role.
Yeah, Tom's over here to work on his pass blocking. And watch him here. Look at the intensity in his face as he pass blocking number 90, Don Reynolds. Big Don Reynolds, too. Don's about 290 pounds, and he can really bring it. And, you know, Tom's in there, gets a good punch on him, locks out, keeps his feet, good base, until he falls down there, but he got his job done. And there's one thing about the eye. The eye in the sky doesn't lie. And all the ball players know that. So you can come back and you can tell the guys, yeah, I had a good game or I had a great game. And then you go in there and watch films on Monday morning. And it'll tell you exactly what you did. And right there, we got a candid sneak preview of what Tom Barnes been doing. He's been doing a good job pass blocking.
The 1st half numbers, nothing too much to shout about really for either team. The big surprise there is Scotland, just 20 rushing yards. We thought Stacey would be the man.
Has anybody seen Saran Stacey?
Had a couple of draw plays up the middle for about 50 yards, and that was it.
Very uncharacteristic, as we talked about at the end of the 1st half, of their offense. You're used to seeing them pound the ball and have Saran Stacey have about 80 yards at this point in time right now. So the Scottish Claymores have lost one aspect of their offense.
Gavin Hastings, the former Scottish rugby union captain, gets it underway. Mario Bailey Fields a bouncing ball at his 12, and Bailey, with a lot of room, explodes through the hole, and a great start on special teams, but a flag comes in late. So that's close to midfield, and the Claymores have a player shaken up, but there is a flag.
Offside.
During the return, holding number 56 of the return team. A 10-yard penalty. First down.
Well, it's gone against the Frankfurt Galaxy. Reginald Lee assessed for the hold, so that'll bring a few yards back, but still a pretty explosive return from Mario Bailey, who's one of those guys that will make things happen for the Galaxy.
And that hurts them. That penalty hurts them, because they only had to go 50 yards to get a score at that point in time. Now they've got to go 75.
And they keep faith with Steve Pallur. Jay Kearney goes in motion on the ground. Ingo Seibert is met and rocked. Ingo Seibert is having a tough time against that front. Herman Carroll, I think number 74, the first guy there, with Emmett Waldron in support, the Irish linebacker.
And that's what they need to do. You know, they need to come out and neutralize Frankfurt's attack, because they're gaining the momentum. Frankfurt is gaining the momentum throughout the first half, and the score indicates it.
Frankfurt leading 7-3. It's a very different game to the one that these two played just 2 weeks ago. Over the middle, short of first down. In fact, it's even broken up. George Coghill all over Maurice Johnson, the tight end. George Coghill introducing himself to Johnson, who's yet to make a catch. And really, the story of that first half is the Scottish Claymores. They're just misfiring.
Yeah, and you can take a look at it right there and see where their problems lie. The interceptions, penalties. You see one in the middle there, missed field goals, 2 of them. At 6 points, it could be a 9-7 ball game if they didn't miss those 2 field goals.
I suppose the good news for the Claymores, despite all those problems, they're still only down by 4. It could be so much worse. Gary Harrell goes in motion on 3rd and long. Pallur gets pressure and is nailed. And it looked like Ty Parton came storming in there, and Pallur shaken up again.
I'll tell you what, Ty Parton, watch him, second guy in, number 95. He beats Theo Adams with the club and rip. And watch what he does here to Ingo Seibert. Pushes, tackles 3 guys at one time. Gets past Theo Adams, jacks up Seibert, and throws him into Pallur. We saw him last week. He had a new technique. He had the bullfrog technique, where he leaped over and stopped a short yardage quarterback sneak. And now he's a one-man wrecking crew. They put 3 people on him.
Kevin Feary gets off a poor punt that Lee Gisindana wants nothing to do with. But it takes a good Frankfurt bounce all the way down to the Claymores 25. But once again, that Claymores defense showing it's not going to give Steve Pallur anything this afternoon.
Yeah, the defense really tightened the bolts down here early in the second half. And that guy right there is leading it. Watch him, the second guy in. See the club right here, bang, and then a swim over top of him. Now he comes in, and Ingo Seibert has to pick him up. But he gets picked up and thrown right into Steve Pallur. Look at Steve Pallur. He's all crinkled up as he's trying to throw the ball there.
Stacey over 500 yards for the season now. Stacey gets it again and stops short of a first down. Curtis Kopp, who came up with interception in the first half, came up with the stop there, the man from the Oakland Raiders.
Now this looks like the Scottish Claymores offense that I've seen. It's 3rd and 1.
No, not.
And you love that stuff.
No, pitch. Coach, I took.
But you can see
know,
that from Jim Kreiner. It's just not clicking today.
Yeah, Jim Kreiner wanted a pitch play called here, but I think they called something else instead. Let's take a look.
Scott Cooper wide right. The pitch back is to surround Stacey, who's in trouble, and just may have got it, although the Galaxy swarmed in. Cecil Doggett and Tom Cavallo, and that's going to depend on where they spot it. But they've given Stacey the benefit of the doubt, but it was one of those tentative plays.
Yeah, Jim Kreiner, he got the pitch play called, and he flipped it out there to Sharon Stacey. And what Sharon Stacey does so well is he's able to find a hole when there's not one there. Frankfurt has it closed down pretty good. See the guys all wrapped around him, but he falls forward just enough to pick up the first down.
Ronnie Woolfolk in on the stop, but a first down for the Scottish Claymores. Stacey looks to run straight through the tackles again. Will pick up around 5 yards, and that's a lot more like it. Bernard Carter in amongst the tacklers, along with Mike Kerr. But this is the key, surely, for the Scottish Claymores in this second half. If they can establish Stacey, they'll win.
Yeah, and you notice what they're doing? They're attacking the middle of the Frankfurt defense. And who was there?
John Baker.
John Baker, and he's not there right now.
We've heard some bad news on the John Baker front as well, which we'll come back to after this play. A first down once again for Saran Stacey. Johnny Dixon on the stop. They're starting to move things. Once Stacey went on the outside, the news on John Baker is a ruptured ligament. They fear he could be gone for the season.
Yeah, it sounds like a torn medial collateral ligament. That's on the inside of your knee, and he strained that, obviously, and probably tore it.
The Claymores starting to run at the heart of the Galaxy in Baker's absence. Dickerson shifts in the Claymores backfield. Matthews looks over the top, got a man, and it's a touchdown again to the big danger, Sean LaChapelle, who roasted Chris Hall. Touchdown, Scotland.
Funny stuff. You talk about their offense, you talk about Saran Stacey and Sean LaChapelle, and what do they come out with in the second half? Saran Stacey and then Sean LaChapelle. And watch him up top here. He not only beats Chris Hall, he also avoids the free safety, Johnny Dixon. Johnny Dixon was beat as well. I mean, he couldn't get over there to help out.
Gavin Hastings will attempt the extra point, and the Scottish Claymores are ahead for the first time in the game. They lead it 10-7. And as you said, Bill, it's Stacey and it's LaChapelle. When those guys are in the game, Scotland play well.
Yeah, it appeared to be an audible at the line of scrimmage. You saw the back shift out. And I think Steve Matthews saw something in the coverage that he liked the matchup he was going to get with Sean LaChapelle.
And the Claymores ahead. 10:27 left, third quarter. Now, how do the Galaxy respond? Their offense has struggled against this Claymores defense. Gavin Hastings kicks it off. Gary Harrell fields at his own 15. Waits for his wedge. Doesn't get a lot. Frank Robinson hanging around there. And is that a loose ball? The ball certainly popped out, but they're going to rule that it was down. And now a big test of character for the Frankfurt Galaxy. And Ernie Stautner talked about character. He doesn't know what his team has got.
Yeah, I'll tell you, for Ernie, you know, he has to sit there and say he didn't know if this team had hit rock bottom or not. He didn't know if they hit the depths of their funk, whatever they're in, because that happens to a team. But you can see that they have come out in this game and started clawing their way back up. Now let's see how they respond in this situation. They're down, and they need to march down the field and have a score here.
Their one touchdown, as Ingo Seibert carries the ball straight through the middle. Their one touchdown has come defensively. Seibert still working hard. Ty partner George Coghill wrapping him up.
You know, back to the last touchdown of the Scottish Claymores, you know, they had Saran Stacey going, and they had LaChapelle. But look at the line, the guys up front, okay? Watch them stuff everything up. Now, when you get some protection like that, and you can just stand there in the pocket and heave the ball downfield, you're going to usually have a good result.
6 yards on the carry for Seibert, who checks out of the lineup. Nate Bolton in, along with Wes Bender in the backfield on second down. Kalor, a short drop, finds Mario Bailey, who is wrapped up by James Williams at midfield, but that'll pick up around 10 yards and a Frankfurt first down.
Well, you see here, they had the running game with Ingo Seibert going, and now they get a first down on the pass, and they have a new offense. See, they lost Thomas Coleman. They had some problems in their offensive strategies, and the new guy in charge is Lou Carpenter. And Lou is a guy that he had to come in here in the middle of the season and put a whole new offense in. And last week it affected them in the London game, but now they seem to be picking it up.
First down. They fake. They go over the top. Gary Harrell's got it. It's another first down, and Harrell's still on his feet. And still on his feet. To the 25, and he's eventually wrestled down. Looked like Joe O'Brien got him, but a pickup of 27 yards. George Coghill there as well. But Lou Carpenter's offense starting to click, and this guy has just been everywhere.
He's been around before. I mean, he's a seasoned veteran, if you could say that about coaches. You can see all the places he's been.
He's been some cold places as well.
Minnesota, Green Bay, Detroit.
Somebody didn't like him.
Yeah, if you're in a place that long and you're that cold, I mean, you can be preserved, so you can coach a long time.
First down after the pickup for Gary Harrell. The nickel package in, and Scotland show blitz. Flags come in. Harrell's got it, but Frank Robinson has stopped him after a pickup of 5, but there are flags.
Yeah, Scotland came into the neutral zone a little early there, and they were excited because the blitz was on. They just jumped the snap count a little too soon.
I think George Coghill might have been certainly one of the guilty men. Let's wait for the call.
Offside. Defense. Number 54. In the neutral zone at the snap. 5-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
So 5-yard penalty. They'll repeat the down after they gain 7. They'll work with a 1st and 5 at the 20. The Galaxy looking to hit back. Pallur with a lot of time, looks for Mario Bailey, and James Williams was in coverage. James Williams hasn't been beaten for a touchdown in 10 games, but that wasn't that far away.
Yeah, and James Williams is like the odd man out of this defensive back group. And what I mean by that, he's the only guy of the defensive back group that doesn't have an interception. But what he does is he covers people, and he covers them well. See the coverage he has? Now watch the closing ability. And see his eyes on the ball? He knows where the ball is at, and he can close at the same time. That was a great job by James Williams.
One of the reasons he doesn't have an interception is that quarterbacks tend not to test him too much either. Nate Bolton barrels his way close to 1st down yardage. Mark Sander and John DeWitt there, but a good second effort from Bolton may move the chains. So James Williams, this guy was a 35th round draft choice in '95, almost a sort of afterthought, but he's just been a starter right from day one of this franchise.
And he's good. He's a guy, he's a great person. You know, you talk to him, and we've talked to him several times, and you just like his personality. He's all about the team, and he's all about helping each other out. And he's a heck of a cornerback, and Kreiner told us that NFL scouts are calling and asking about him in particular.
1st down for Frankfurt at the 15. It's a test of character, this, for both sides. Now pressure comes. Shannon Jones couldn't get there, and it's two Claymores banged into each other because an interception was on. Williams and Fuller.
Hey, you know, I don't think they want James Williams to get an interception, because maybe he'll get a big hit or something, because he had an opportunity to get a pick right here. He closes on the ball, he sees it's overthrown, and he's going to get a pick, and then bang, Fuller comes in and says, nah, you can't have that. We want you to cover guys. I'm the interception king around here.
Well, Fuller leads the World League with interceptions with 5. 2nd down, Pallur. And it's tipped and incomplete, and that brings up a 3rd down. And how often have we seen the Galaxy, the Claymores defense stiffen up inside their own 20?
Well, it's a tough group, and when their back gets pinned against their goal line, their necks kind of swell, and it shows in their effort. But for Frankfurt on the other end, you know, they haven't been able to score a touchdown. They've had a field goal offensively, and that's all. It's important for them and the confidence of their offense to put this thing in the end zone.
And they won't want to trust the field goal unit either, because it's been a tough afternoon for field goal kickers. Pallur gives the ball to Gary Harrell, who doesn't fool anybody, will pick up maybe a couple, and that will bring out Ralph Kleineman, who has missed from 40 yards twice.
Yeah, the swarming blue. Watch these guys. They're not fooled at all. They throw their bodies in there. They're taking players out, and they all come swarming. Watch how many blue hats are on the ball there. You got 4 guys. And then Coghill, he's the 5th guy. He comes into the picture because he just tries to hit anything that moves.
Well, the German kicker, Ralph Kleiman, has missed badly on 2 40-yard attempts. This one, a 32-yarder. The pressure came, but Kleiman certainly got the distance, and he's got the accuracy this time, and we have a tied ball game. Terrible kickoff. It's fielded by Ben Torriero, the Scottish national player, who still manfully stays on his feet, but eventually goes down. One of the gutsy guys on this Scottish unit, Ben Torriero, likes to get his hands on the ball. Very gutsy team, actually, and none more so than the defensive unit. They just swarm.
Yeah, they really do, and we talked about them. You know, we talked about the guys that come upfield, and they're just... See Webb there, giving up his body, knocking people out of the way. The guards are on the ground. They can't pull out in front to lead the play. They're a punishing group. They're very physical. And this team has, you know, every team that has played them, the next week, they've lost their games.
Yeah, that's an incredible stat. 1st down. On the ground for the Scottish Claymores, Tom Cavallo eventually stopping Saran Stacey, who must have picked up around 7 or 8 yards. And they softened them up the middle on the last drive and finished it off with a touchdown.
Yeah, and they're missing John Baker right now. I mean, because you didn't see this out of the Frankfurt defense before. They had stopped the run in the first half. And now they look like they've given up some holes in there.
Second down and short. Stacey gets it again and just has an ocean of room to run in, and will pick up around another 5 yards and a first down. Tom Cavallo was the first man to meet him, but Stacey didn't even have to get past anyone to make that first down.
Yeah, well, watch the blue shirts up front and watch what they do. See Bart on the double team there, open up the hole. Then in comes Dickerson, and he picks up Bernard Carter. When you got those guys pounding up in there and banging, you're going to get some first downs.
So Stacey taking full advantage of Frankfurt's injury woes over the middle to lead Gissendaner. They couldn't quite find Gissendaner. Cecil Doggett had coverage. Gissendaner was hoping for a flag. Gissendaner, one of those guys they keep talking about, he's ready to explode, but they never quite get him into the game.
I've heard it now for about 4 weeks. Watch Lee Gissendaner. They're going to get him into the game. And, you know, James Williams told us if he can touch the ball 7 times offensively, something will happen. And you see he's still in there, so maybe we'll see him again here.
On second down and 10. Matthew drops the pass again. Has time, he's got a man open this time, and it's picked off. Chris Hall with his, or Johnny Dixon rather, the safety, with another interception of Steve Matthews. That's his second. And that's another big turnover. Frankfurt will take over, and we're all tied up at 10 apiece. And that's given Frankfurt a first down. Frankfurt still trying to get something going offensively. They've got Jay Kearney, who will be close to first down yardage before he's stopped by Frank Robinson. But both these offenses, I think if there's one word we've been looking for to describe them, it's inconsistent.
Inconsistent is a very good word. You know, you see a nice play and something big come out of them, and then you see them get shut down and stop. And what it really is I think it's an effect of 2 teams that really want to win this ball game. So your defense gives a little, then they close, then they give a little and close.
The amazing thing is Scotland have turned the ball over 4 times and yet are still level. In short yardage situations, in goes Seibert, runs straight at Arnold Allais. Well, this game's so important for Frankfurt. Remember, Scotland already in the World Bowl. Frankfurt, if they can win here, will be very good favourites to join them, because it'll make it so much harder for Amsterdam and Barcelona and the rest of them to catch them up. So everything on the line really for Frankfurt, and they know it.
Yeah, and they knew it coming into the game, and you sensed it from the opening kickoff. They were here for revenge. We talked about it, and they haven't let up at all, man.
And Steve Pallur, who's had a tough time, continues to lead this group. Wes Bender in the backfield, the big blocking back, along with Ingo Seibert. That ball is tipped and picked off. George Coghill's got it and could be gone. Touchdown, Scotland. The second interception return for a touchdown today, and this time it's that Claymores defense that has come up with it.
George Coghill, he says, I'm taking the ball with me. He spikes it, then he goes over and picks it up. Watch number 74 to the right of your screen. See him get his hand up? That's Herman Carroll. And George Coghill just knows exactly where the ball is when it's fluttering around up there like a duck that's just been shot, and he picks it off and runs it in.
Gavin Hastings to attempt the extra point. Straight and true. And the Scottish Claymores, despite 4 turnovers, lead the Frankfurt Galaxy 17-10.
When you have a 3-step rush, the ball's coming out quick. So as a defensive lineman, you get your hands up, and that's exactly what Herman Carroll did. Got his hand on the ball, tipped it up there, and then Coghill just made a nice play on it.
Gavin Hastings picks it off. Mario Bailey fields another shallow kick at the 18, and he's hit by Frank Robinson and then stopped and down at about the 26-yard line. He was gang tackled. Robert Flickinger was in there. Matt Storm was in there as well. And I think Mario Bailey was shaken up on the play, and they can't afford to lose Bailey.
Yeah, well, remember I said earlier, as Steve Pallur goes, that's how the Frankfurt offense goes? Well, in the first 3 games of the season, I mean, he was just marching the ball downfield. I'd make that 4 games of the season. I mean, he took them downfield. He had some great numbers. See right there, first 3 games? Only 3 interceptions. He looked like an
NFL quarterback, didn't he?
Now look at the last 4 games. 7 picks and only 1 touchdown.
And he's got some work to do here from his own 30-yard line against this brutal, uncompromising Claymores defensive front. He's been given a lot of protection and finally finds Wes Bender, who's got some daylight ahead of him and will pick up a first down. And Bender, who is as tough as they come, pushes his way for another 4 or 5 extra yards.
Yeah, Wes Bender is tough, and he does run like a train. And it's a funny story about him. You know, he was a guy who battled dyslexia all his life, and even in college he had to take special classes. And the football field, he told us, is the only place he feels equal as a man. Now watch him here as he catches the ball and turns upfield. He wants to prove, hey, I'm very equal. I'm more of a man.
No arguments up here. 16 yards on the reception to Wes Bender. Kalur pump fakes, gets hit, goes down. John DeWitt, it looked like. Joe O'Brien was in there celebrating.
Swarming blue defense. I mean, can that sum it up any better for you? Steve Kalur just takes a snap and he doesn't even have time to think, plant, or read the field, and the blue jerseys are all over him.
Credited with John DeWitt and a loss of around 3 yards. A 5 defensive back package comes in for the Scottish Claymores. 2nd and long, facing Steve Kalur. A swing pass to Ingo Seibert, who gets a block, doesn't get a first down, but will pick up around 8 yards before David Wilson and James Williams converge to make the stop. But Seibert, very much an integral part of this offense.
Yeah, and Steve Kalur made a nice decision there in finding the outlet guy, because they were bringing a blitz. They had 5 defensive backs in, and they brought George Coghill off the corner on a blitz to have the 5th rusher. And Steve saw it, and he saw the opening. He just dumped it out there to Ingo, and Ingo picked himself up about 8 yards.
Brings up an important 3rd down and 4. A minute left, 3rd quarter. Frankfurt trailing 17-10. Wes Bender couldn't hang on to it. It looked as if it was thrown before Bender was ready to pick it up.
Yeah, that ball got there before Wes even turned around. He turned around, and the ball was at his fingertips. It's tough. And Steve Kalur, you can't blame him for wanting to get rid of the ball, because he's just been sitting back there getting hammered.
Fury gets off the punt. Good high punt. Dickerson Bamer calls for a fair catch at the 8-yard line, and he had to hang on to that because he had Fred Foggy and Tony Harrison all over him. Amsterdam take on London tomorrow. That's such an important game for the Monarchs, who daren't afford another defeat, but it's going to be tough for them against an Amsterdam unit that knows how to score both offensively and defensively.
Yeah, quite a crew Al Luganbill has there in Amsterdam. But Lionel Taylor with the London Monarchs, you know, they got their 2nd win last week, and they feel a new kind of breath of life, so to say. And they know that every game is very important for them if they want to have a shot at going to the World Bowl.
Speaking of important, this is an important defensive series for the Frankfurt Galaxy with 45 seconds left in the 3rd quarter. Down by 7. And it's on the ground, and a lot of pushing and shoving going on. Tom Cavallo, I think, probably the middle linebacker, the first guy in there. Saran Stacey trying to soften him up.
Yeah, Tom Cavallo, smart player. He's a guy that he knows exactly where things are going. He understands offensive formations and tendencies and personnel groupings, and he's in there, and the reason he's in there is because he can run this defense and keep everybody lined up. And right there, he knew where Saran Stacey was going to be and close the gap very quickly.
And just a yard for the World League's leading rusher on that play. Yared Kayahilo shifts in the backfield. Matthews on 2nd and long drops the pass, has a lot of time, goes upstairs. That's a dangerous one, and it's picked up again. Johnny Dixon, and Dixon's looking for blockers and is still on his feet and down to the 30, and Steve Matthews will watch film of that and say, I shouldn't have thrown that one.
Yeah,
that's the end of the quarter, and Jim Kriner's face tells it all. But at the moment, the Scottish Claymores still leading 17-10.
Both the Claymores and Frankfurt defense held firm on the first 2 drives. Brad Bress is now the quarterback for the Galaxy. They are on their own 48 and have a 1st and 10.
Brad Brett's in at quarterback for the Frankfurt Galaxy. They're looking for a spark, and they've got a spark. Jay Kearney down to the 5. George Coghill on the stop, but Brad Brett with one play has done more than Steve Pulleur's been able to manage for the last quarter.
Yeah, this looks like last year he came in. Steve Brett, the guy in a white uniform from standing on the sidelines, gets some time in the pocket and airs out. Finds Kearney man-to-man with Frank Robinson. But what happens is Robinson's feet get tangled up with Kearney. But Kearney's able to keep his balance, and Frank Robinson falls down. And now they got 1st and goal at the 5.
And this is what Ernie Stautner said he would do. If they needed a lift, he would bring in Brad Brett. And Brett was sensational at Murrayfield last year. Brett on the keeper, gets out of trouble, and throws it away. And that's smart play.
2 things I saw Brad Brett do in that series that Steve Palleur didn't do. One, after they threw the long ball downfield, he got them up to the line of scrimmage, called the play without the 35-second clock running out. And secondly, see here, he's in trouble, and he's not going to force it anywhere. He throws the ball out of the back of the end zone. Smart heads-up play by Brad Brett.
Steve Palleur takes over on the headset. Probably done for the afternoon, and 2nd down and goal from the 5. Brett again drops back to pass, looks, goes upstairs, broken up. Is it intercepted? In fact, George Coghill again. What a game George Coghill has had. And there's an injured Galaxy player in the end zone as well. Looks like it could be Theo Adams. He's up now. He was the intended receiver, but Coghill is having a sensational game.
Unbelievable. George Coghill all over the place. He's the guy, he's a strong safety, and he's the guy that has to come up and fill on support when they run the ball. And then he's got to get back in coverage as well. And you're going to see him here at the bottom left of your screen. Brad Brett has time, throws the ball up. Now watch George Coghill close. See him go up after the ball right there? Excellent concentration by George Coghill. You know he was throwing to Theo Adams, a tackle who, when they get... Look at the guys go. He has the right to do it, too, man. All the interception he has on the year.
Yeah.
They're thrown to Theo
5
Adams.
interceptions now for George Coghill. 5 for James Fuller. These Scottish safeties are terrific. Stacey looks to turn the corner, goes outside, will pick up 7 yards. Johnny Dixon on the stop. But I don't know how many times you've said it, Bill. By right, Scotland shouldn't be in this game. And they're 7 points ahead.
No, they shouldn't. And watch 31, Jared Caiello. See the job he does right there on the lead blocker? That springs the whole corner open. Stacey goes downfield and picks up 6. And C-42, Johnny Dixon in the picture, that's the safety. That's what makes it tough on him. When you have to have your safety come all the way up there to make the tackle, now you're in trouble on play action.
They give to Stacey once again, and Stacey runs into a wall of trouble. Bernard Carter was in there. Frank Messmer was there. Stephen Gamlin. And he will be short of 1st down yardage. This Galaxy defense has done everything you could ask of it.
Yeah, one thing you can say about this game is that the 2 offensive coordinators for both teams aren't going to be happy Monday morning when they watch films. You know, the mistakes they've made, the misassignments, the turnovers.
3rd down and a couple for the Claymores. Matthews drops back to pass, gets Stacey. Stacey gets past the first guy, but that never had a hope. Bernard Card, Chris Hall in on the stop. And offenses today for both teams have struggled.
They sure have. Either that or you got 2 unbelievably outstanding defenses out there on the field, and they're playing like it.
Done a good job of practice.
Gary Harrell is the return man who's standing at his own 40-yard line. Paul McCallum will kick it away.
Frankfurt defense doing an outstanding job of giving the ball back to their offense and trying to do everything they can to win the game for them.
Harrell steps up to the 46, loose ball. Fuller was there first, but have Frankfurt recovered it? Yes, they have. And Brad Brett's controlling things for the Frankfurt Galaxy. He says this is his lucky ground. A year ago, he came on in relief of an injured Paul Justin. And 3 touchdowns later, Frankfurt ran out comfortable victors. He says this is his ground. And there's still plenty of time for Bretts to turn things around for the Galaxy of 96 as well. First down. Bretts pressured, runs into trouble, and is sacked. Doesn't matter who the quarterback is. These guys are coming after you. Jeffcoat and Webb on that occasion, but Webb paid the price. Webb was hurt.
Yeah, now Brad gets a full understanding of what Steve's been looking at. It's hard to look downfield and try to find your white jerseyed receivers when you're smothered in blue jerseys. But I'll tell you this, I can't agree more with Coach Stotner's decision to bring Bretts in. And right there we take a look at an injured Claymore defender. I believe that's David Webb. But Coach Stotner, he told us yesterday, I said, will you change? It seems like your quarterback's been struggling. Will you make a change? And he said, I'll make a change depending on how the game goes. I said, would you pull him in the first quarter? And he goes, well, it depends on how the game's going. And it's been a close game. Been down by 1 touchdown.
Tell Lou down.
Stoltner is running things down there, talking to line coach Fred Quillen, the former 49er. And let's see if we can see what happened here, because we've already had one bad injury. We don't want another one.
See David Webb, left side of your screen. Gets around George Hageman there. And as he's closing on the quarterback, it's towards the end of the play. He just gets tangled up there in the pile.
Webb was coming from the backside and just sort of...
And you see him grab his knee.
We talked to David Webb yesterday and we said, what do you do in the off-season? He says, I'm a surfer, I just love to surf.
Yeah, you don't want to hurt that knee if you're a surfer, you know. That's vital. You know, when you hang 10, huh, Nick, you do that?
Oh, I do a lot of that stuff, yeah. We have a lot of surfing here in England, Bill. Well, looks like another knee injury. David Webb coming off. And as we said with John Baker, you can only hope it's not too serious.
And, you know, we talked to him. He's been battling sickness and injuries ever since he got here. He said he wanted to come here and gain some size and strength, but he's been sick. He had bronchitis and salmonella, lost 13 pounds. Now he's got a knee injury.
It'll be credited as a sack. A second down and around 11 to go for the Galaxy. Brad Bretts trying to get things moving. They're coming after him again. Brett steps up, gets rid of it. Got a man wide open is Mike Bellamy, who is still on his feet and then does the smart thing and takes a knee. Emmett Waldron was there, a 25-yard pickup. And this game's not over, Bill.
Brad Brett's had a little protection this time, and he's pretty cool customer under pressure because the pocket closes in around him, and he stands there, takes the hit, but delivers a nice ball to Mike Bellamy.
What do you do when you're surrounded by the Scottish Claymores? You take a knee. Talking of knees, there's David Webb.
Well, you either take a knee or you take a licking. These guys are capable of putting one on you.
Harrell in motion. Bretts rolls to his right. They're after him, and Bretts gets rid of it. How often have we seen a Galaxy quarterback chased by 2 or 3 unblocked Claymores defenders?
Lord's numbers on the day, and you can see why he is calling the plays from the sidelines right now. 0 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. You know, this close of a game, it was time for a change, and Ernie Stotner made it. Let's get some new life in there. I gave you the opportunity to score a couple times, and it didn't turn out that way.
And now it's Brad Bretts, and they show blitz. And Bretts is hit. John DeWitt came in unblocked. And just like the fourth quarter when these two met 2 weeks ago, the Claymores defense is the dominant bunch.
Watching go cyber. He has a decision to make. Do I pick up 56 Arnold Ali, or do I come over here and get DeWitt? He picks up Ali and leaves the hole open for DeWitt. And look at the hit he puts on his backside, his blind side. They ran a little stunt there, a little cross stunt between the defensive end and the defensive tackle. John DeWitt came scot-free.
And a loss of 7 yards, and that forces Bretts into the shotgun. High snap. Bretts gets protection this time, goes over the middle, loose ball. Incomplete. They're going to say it was incomplete, but Gary Harrell paid the price. George Coggin on a huge hit, and now it's Harrell's turn to be on the floor. Would you want to face this Claymores defense?
Somebody has to come up with a name for this defense. You know, they try to call it the Braveheart defense and the Highlander defense. Watch George Coghill, left of your screen, close on Gary Harrell. Oh, can you feel your ribs at home? Can you feel them just get busted right there? Man, George Coghill is having a whale of a game.
Now we hope Gary Harrell's going to be okay, but we talked about Saran Stacey not getting into camp. George Coghill never got into a camp last year. How about him in the NFL next season?
Somebody's got to take a look at this guy. You know, one of the things on him is his speed is lacking a little bit. But if you want a strong safety that's going to come up and support the run, blitz off the corner, and lay a lick on a receiver, that's the guy you want right there.
And he'd be a heck of a contributor on special teams as well. Imagine him running downfield.
He's got some intensity behind him.
Down, the punting unit comes out. Kevin Feary kicks to Lee Gisendana, who is at his own 10-yard line. High kick. Gisendana waves for a fair catch and gets out of the way. Fred Foggy can't quite stop it going into the end zone. That'll be a touchback to the 20-yard line. Frankfurt still trailing the Claymores by 7 with 5:18 left, and Gary Harrell has had a mark left on him by this Claymores defense. There should be a protection order up against Gary Harrell. He's only 5'6".
Yeah, but when you cross the middle of the field there like that, you know you're going to take a hit.
Well, if you like defensive play, you'll love this game. I reckon there might be a twist or two yet in this one. 5:18 left. Frankfurt still trailing by 7, and Scotland have the ball as well. But Scotland's offense not in sync. The pitch back goes to Saran Stacey. Stacey works his blockers and will get close to first down yardage, and that's what they need.
Well, Scotland's trying to work the clock in right now. They took the play clock down to 1 second before they snapped the ball, and the game clock's running, and Saran Stacey's carrying the ball. And, you know, he had 14 carries up the middle for 66 yards there. That time he took it to the outside, and he had a big pickup for about the first down, 10 yards. I mean, when you want to chew up the clock, get your offensive line going and get Saran Stacey the ball. Frankfurt's defense has to rise to the occasion again if they want to stay in this ball game.
And Stacey given 10 yards and a first down. Stacey gets it again, looks to cut back inside, doesn't get anything like 10 yards this time because Tom Cavallo was there to say a couple and no more.
And now the clock is going to become a factor.
And remember those 2 timeouts that Frankfurt had to waste. They only have 1 left.
Clock's moving on them. You know, they're going to stay in the huddle as long as they can. They're going to use the play clock and let that thing run down to about 2 or 1 seconds before they snap the ball. Then they're going to try to keep the ball on the ground so the play clock keeps going.
Stacey up the middle, close to first down yardage, will be a yard or 2 short. Looked like he ran into Johnny Dixon and Edward Robinson.
Yeah, and what Stacey does so well is he finds the crease. Now watch his footwork. They almost shift as his eyes shift. You see his head on a swivel back and forth. As his eyes and heads are moving, so are his feet.
Now this is a big third down for the Galaxy defense, who will look to stop Scotland here with 3:38 remaining. Stacey gets it, runs into trouble, and Frankfurt's defense has done everything it's been asked to do. Curtis Cotton and Ed Robinson in on the stop, and they'll send out the punting unit again.
If they stay down, they'll stop them.
Everything and more, Nick. Outstanding job by the entire Frankfurt Galaxy defense, not only on that play, but the whole entire game.
Right, if you stay down, you're going to stop them. See that? If you stay.
And on the other side of it, Scotland, I mean, that's been their offense all day. You know, they needed that to secure a win, and normally we've seen them do it. They weren't able to do it that time.
They put Mario Bailey back deep after the scare last time, and that's hit Chris Hall, and it's a live ball, and it looks like Frankfurt have got a break. Chris Hall never saw it, but Frankfurt dodged a bullet there.
Most certainly did, and they got another chance. Scotland has given them more opportunities to win this ball game than I can recall seeing in a ball game. If Frankfurt doesn't score a touchdown, if they don't get back in this ball game, they have no one to blame but themselves and their offense. I mean, they've had so many opportunities to score. Their defense has done an outstanding job of putting them in a situation to score.
And it's on this guy's shoulders now. Brad Bretts, very laid-back guy, California.
I don't know how laid back you could be when you have 2 minutes and 50 seconds left and you got to go 70 yards and the front four of Scotland is after you.
And if they don't get you, wait till the secondary comes up. Bretts out of the shotgun. Pressure immediately, but he's got time. Has he got an open man? No, he's overthrown. It looked like Mario Bailey he was looking for there. But James Fuller went deep.
Yeah, and he knew he made a mistake there, too, because he was just too anxious. He had the time in the pocket. He had his open receiver downfield. He was so anxious to hit a home run ball, he overthrew his man.
Bretts' numbers, not quite the numbers he achieved at Murrayfield last time. But this is a very different set of circumstances. He's playing against an outstanding defense. And if anybody doubted that Scotland has the #1 defense in the World League, I don't think there's any doubters now. Bretts has time, gets Tony Harrison, who can't get away from James Williams, who's well to hang on. But a pickup of 7 will bring up an important 3rd down now for Ernie Stautner and the Galaxy.
And they're in their hurry-up offense, too. You know, they want to try to keep Scotland's defense in check, try to maybe confuse them, catch them off guard.
3rd down and 4. Bretts drops, has time, goes over the middle, got a 1st down. James Fuller came in and made the stop, but Kearney picked up around 6 yards, good enough for a 1st down.
You know, you got to hand it to the Frankfurt Galaxy's receivers because they know as soon as they catch the ball, they're going to get smacked.
And they'll do well to get this play off at the 2-minute warning, and they just make it. Bretts goes downtown again and overthrows Mike Bellamy, and that will do it. That's the 2-minute warning. In fact, 1:55 remaining in the ball game, and the pressure is on. Can Frankfurt pull back? He gets all that ice packed around his knee, but he seems in pretty good spirits.
Yeah, so it must not be that bad, and he knows he can still go home after the season and surf.
Which is the most important thing.
He said, hey, I'm from L.A. I'm from Southern California. I like surfing.
Whereas John Baker on the other sideline knows his season's over.
Yeah, that's a tough thing to swallow.
2nd down and 10. 1:55 left for Brad Bretts and the Frankfurt Galaxy to get back on level terms. And it bounced straight off the hands of Mike Bellamy. David Wilson was there, and that brings up 3rd and 10.
Well, that was a very catchable ball, and if you've taken as many licks as the receivers have taken for Frankfurt, you can understand why his concentration was a little wary right there.
It's got to affect you, hasn't it? Because these guys just come in and smack you. 3rd down. Bretts out of the shotgun. Bretts gets Mario Bailey. James Williams was there. And it's going to be very close to a 1st down, but maybe short. And I think under these circumstances, they'll go for it.
Well, that's what they needed. Even if they were going to fall short of the 1st down, they had to take anything that was open underneath. And you see right there, Mario Bailey stops short and turns in.
4th and 1, they're going for it. Bretts gets pressure, goes over the middle. And are they going to rule it a catch? They are.
Boy, very, very close to not being a play.
That was close to a hopper. But
Brent was getting smacked on the other end, and then the ball looked like it was almost trapped. But hey, they got 1 minute and 8 left, and they've still got the ball, and they're still marching.
But they're 44 yards adrift. Bretts works the sidelines. He's got a man, and it's a touchdown. Jay Kearney. What a play with 57 seconds left.
57 seconds left in the game.
What a play. What composure. Brad Bretts coming into the offense in the 4th quarter and taking over. And that's tough to do when you're on the sidelines. And he's been getting hit and banged around. His receivers are getting smacked. And then Jay Kearney streaks down the sideline and beats Frank Robinson all out. Look at Ernie.
Ernie likes it. But I tell you what, the extra point is no lock. Ralph Kleineman has missed 3 field goals already. And the pressure is on the German kicker here. And the crowd getting into it. This to tie the game. It wasn't the best of kicks, but it's good enough, and we're tied up. 17 apiece. And Bretts has done it again. Kleinman held his nerve, and you can't argue with it. Scotland, Frankfurt deserved to be level.
Yeah, without a doubt, they deserve to be in this ball game. All the opportunities they've had to score, all the turnovers that Scotland has given them. I mean, it's only fair that this game at least go into overtime, and let's see if we can muster something. Look at them.
I love you. Hey, Craig, Mom, I love you. Nikki, I love you. Beautiful.
Well, that's breathed new life into the Galaxy, hasn't it?
And you know, when you score a touchdown and you're back in the game, you love everybody. These guys are happy. There's smiles on their faces. They're wishing their mom good luck and hello and telling their wife they love you. And that's the confidence that Ernie Stotner wanted to get out of this game in some way, shape, or form. Because they've been in a funk the last 2 weeks. They haven't been able to generate anything. And now finally in the fourth quarter, they're able to score touchdowns. The first of the day, Nick.
It's been a long time coming, that offensive touchdown, and it took Brad Bretts to find it. And the hands team is out. Marcus Thomas and Scott Cooper, the deep man, as well. I would imagine they will try and get it to Thomas, as Cooper's, to my knowledge, has not returned a kick in the World League before. Simon gets it off. Marcus Thomas and Cooper backpedaling. It's Cooper that's going to take it. The buzz of expectancy for Cooper goes down when the first guy gets there. That's Lance Gunn.
And I'll tell you, that was a heck of a job by Kleinman. That was one of the best kickoffs I've seen in the World League this season. He got the ball down to about the 8-yard line, and now they're at the 22. That's great field position for the Frankfurt Galaxy.
All right, go ahead and run it, and then we'll run it out if we're not successful.
You know, I don't want to keep coming back to things, but those 2 timeouts that Frankfurt blew, if they had them here and their defense could stop them. But it's academic. 49 seconds left. Yo Murphy goes wide left. LaChapelle, who's only had a couple of catches in this game, wide right. And Matthews has had a tough afternoon. Goes over the middle. He's got Sean LaChapelle, who is brought down inbounds by Chris Hall to the 43-yard line. The clock continues to run.
Well, like we've seen them do so many times, when you need yards, who do they go to?
LaChapelle.
And then 9 times out of 10, they get them, Nick.
First down. Scotland with Matthews. Matthews goes for LaChapelle again, and he couldn't quite get it. And that stops the clock at 18 seconds. Johnny Dixon was there, and Dixon had to make sure that LaChapelle couldn't get that, and has paid the price. He's shaken up now.
Well, I'll tell you, look at LaChapelle. He gets Cecil Doggett turned around, and then he draws one-on-one there with Dixon. And the ball was just thrown out of reach, and Dixon did a nice job of putting his body in the way.
Paul McCallum has had a rotten afternoon, as indeed both kickers have. May yet be called upon. Lee Gisendane in the game. Matthews gets rumbled, and he's going to go down. They came after him. Mike Kerr was in there. Mark Biles was in there. I think Kerr will be credited with the sack.
And Scotland calls a timeout.
And that's their last timeout with 12 seconds remaining.
And you know, the defense of Frankfurt, again, they've done a nice job all afternoon of keeping their team in the game. And they knew coming in that they were going to be in a dogfight, and it was going to be 60 minutes long. They couldn't quit, and they couldn't falter at any point in time.
Well, Ernie Stautner.
Right here, right here, right here. Come on.
Like 92. Go ahead. All righty, tell me a good job now.
Yeah. A lot of composure on both sidelines. In a game like this, you need a calm head at the helm.
Well, for Jim Kreiner, you know, he knows exactly what has transpired today.
Yeah.
This team hasn't played all that well, but that's sometimes a good sign. Because when you don't play well and you're still in position to win the game, then things are good.
Matthews has to go big time. And he's got his man, Sean LaChapelle, down and out of bounds with 6 seconds left. at about the 28-yard line.
Well, sometimes I say things are good, and usually when Sean LaChapelle's around, things are great. Watch him right here. See him turn out towards the sideline, grabs it, and sees he can pick up some extra yards before getting out of bounds. Smart player. McCallum is capable of making this. Although he struggled, he has the leg strength to make this field goal.
It's a 46-yard kick. This for the game. Is it good enough? Is it long enough? It's good! What a play! Paul McCallum!
What an end to a ball game. And what a great ball game it was.
And there's still 1 second left. Scotland think they've won it. There are Galaxy players on their knees and on their backs in disbelief. And as good as you feel for Scotland, you have to feel for Frankfurt.
A lot of effort out there today. And McCallum, I said he has the leg strength, and he does. And you know what else he has? He has the mental composure in this situation as a national player to come in and kick a game-winning field goal and sit in there and keep his head and boot it. That's what I like most about him.
Because he's not kicked well, and nobody needs to tell Paul McCallum he hasn't kicked well today, but as you say, when the chips are down, he's delivered. He's delivered them a win.
You know who else delivered? LaChapelle.
Well, with 1 second left, Frankfurt need a miracle.
But we're right between two
But you've just
guys.
got the sense all day this wasn't going to be their game.
What you're going to see is a squib kick. They're going to boot it and let it roll around on the ground and not give Frankfurt the opportunity to field a kick and set up a wedge and some blocking.
Well, if you remember, with 5 minutes to go, I said I reckon there's 1 or 2 twists and turns left in this game, but I didn't expect to finish quite like this. The scoreboard has already put up that the Claymores are 6-1 and the Galaxy are 4-3, which is a second premature. And there's the squib kick that is going to be fielded.
We're going to see a little rugby play here now.
Well, they need a miracle. They're putting it up in the air, and it's gone to Mike Bellamy. Flags have come in, and it looks like George Cook. No, Barry O'Bailey's got it. There are flags everywhere. The game is over, but we'll have to wait for the flags. Still Frankfurt try for something. Now it's Gary Harrell, and Harrell is finally down, but there are flags. I think Gavin Hastings actually made that final tackle, and we have an injured Claymore on the field as well. Well, all sorts of drama here. Hastings makes a tackle which you, Bill Maher, says he wasn't capable of, so you can take that back.
Well, I was just saying, alluding to the fact, Nick, that that's Scotland's best rugby player, and when he puts on a football uniform, he becomes a kicker.
What a game, but it is officially over. It's heartbreak for Frankfurt, who played it so tough. That's James Williams was the injured player down on the field, but Scotland get another win. And how do Frankfurt bounce back from this?
Well, I'll tell you, and actually they can't. It's not all that bad, because coming into the game, Ernie Stoddard said, you know, this isn't a crucial game for us, you know, because we're 4-3. We have a winning record and still have a chance to get into the World Bowl.